Hey everyone, welcome! In this video, we're going to break down a really important topic, environmental sustainability. We're going to make it super simple so you can understand it easily and, nail it in your exams.
So let's kick things off with the big question that this whole topic really revolves around. How can we live our lives and get what we need today without making it impossible for future generations to get what they need? This is the core idea we're going to unpack. So here's what we've got on the agenda today. We'll figure out what sustainable development actually means, check out the world's global to-do list, touch on some big environmental rules, talk about our place in the natural world, and then wrap it all up with a quick summary. All right, first up, let's tackle this big phrase, sustainable development. You probably hear it all the time, right? But what does it actually mean? Let's get a crystal clear idea. Okay, so this is the official definition you absolutely need to know, coming all the way from 1987. The most important word here is balance. It's about balancing what we need right now with what people are going to need in the future. It's that simple. This image right here, it's the perfect way to visualize this. True sustainability isn't just one thing. It's that sweet spot right in the middle where three different circles overlap. Think of it like a stool with three legs. If you take away even one leg, the whole thing just tips right over. So for that stool to stay standing, you need all three of these pillars. First, it has to be good for the environment. Second, it has to make sense economically. And third, it has to be fair and good for society. If you're missing even one of those, well, it's not really sustainable, is it? Okay, moving on. Let's look at how the entire world created a kind of global to-do list to try and achieve this sustainability. These are like huge, shared goals that all the countries have agreed to work on together. So, way back in the year 2000, the United Nations kicked things off with something called the Millennium Development Goals, or MDGs for short. There were 8 of them, and they focused on massive problems like poverty and health. It was a really important first step. Now, the MDGs were a huge deal, a really great starting point. But by 2015, everyone realized we needed to think even bigger, so the plan evolved. Those 8 MDGs grew into 17 much broader, much more ambitious Sustainable Development Goals, or SDGs. And that brings us to this magic number, 17. That's how many Sustainable Development Goals the world is trying to hit by the year 2030. They cover basically everything you can think of, from ending hunger to keeping our oceans clean and promoting peace. It's a massive plan. Now, don't worry, you don't have to memorize all 17 of these for your exam, but it's really useful to know a few. You can see they cover everything: social stuff like education, economic things like clean energy, and of course, the environment, like taking action on climate. Oh, and Goal 17 is super important. It's all about how we have to work together to make the other 16 happen. All right, so having goals is great, but how do you actually get nearly 200 different countries to play on the same team? Well, that's where international agreements and conventions come in. You can think of them as the planet's official rulebook. This little timeline here walks us through some of the biggest moments in this global team effort. Back in 1992, the Earth Summit in Rio really got the ball rolling. Then, in 97, we got the Kyoto Protocol, which was a huge deal because it set the first actual rules for cutting emissions. And of course, more recently, in 2015, we had the Paris Agreement, which brought pretty much every country on Earth together to fight climate change. And it's not just about climate change, There are a bunch of other super important agreements. For example, the CBD is all about protecting the variety of all living things. CITES is a set of rules to protect endangered species from being illegally traded. Ramsar protects wetlands. And the Montreal Protocol? That one is an amazing success story. It's the agreement that actually helped fix the hole in our ozone layer. Okay, for our last big topic, we're going to get a little bit philosophical. How we decide to act on all these environmental problems really depends on how we see ourselves and our place in nature. This is what we call environmental ethics. You see, how we act really comes down to how we answer this one simple but really deep question. Is the planet just here for us to use? Or does everything else, every other animal, every forest, every river, have a right to exist too? So basically, there are 3 main ways of looking at this. The first is anthropocentric. That's a fancy word for human-centered. This view says humans are the most important. The second is biocentric, or life-centered. This view says all living things have value. And the third is ecocentric, or ecosystem-centered. This one says the health of the entire system is what matters most. Whew. Okay, we've covered a ton of ground. So let's do a super quick summary to make sure all the most important points really stick in your head for your exam. Ready? First up, sustainable development. What is it? Meeting our needs today without messing things up for the future. It's all about balance. Simple as that.
Second, the 3 pillars. Remember that 3-legged stool? It's got to be good for the environment, good for the economy, and good for society. You need all 3 or it doesn't work. Third, the world's to-do list. Just remember, we upgraded from the 8 Millennium Development Goals to the 17 much bigger, much broader Sustainable Development Goals. Fourth, global agreements. These are the rules of the game. Just remember a few big ones. The Earth Summit got it all started. Kyoto and Paris are all about climate change, and the Montreal Protocol was that awesome success story that saved the ozone layer. And last but not least, number 5, environmental ethics. Remember those 3 views? Anthropocentric is humans first, biocentric is all life is equal, and ecocentric is the whole ecosystem matters. And that's a wrap. So I'll just leave you with this final thought. Now that you understand the plan and the big ideas, the real question is, what role will you play in creating a sustainable future? For more clear explanations and daily IGNOU videos, subscribe to IGNOU Mind Decoded.